think that if it's right there by the sink,
Yeah.
I'm sure her husband looked there. I'm sure you may look there.
Well, that's
maybe.
where he left. Oh, I would look where I left it for sure. So, but you actively searched the room.
Nobody
looked
has
all
it.
over.
Cannot find it.
Nobody can find it. It's just completely gone.
And then boom.
And then you go up there.
Suddenly there it is.
Yeah, and you're there in the house by yourself.
So that was really the only prank the ghost played on us, and we moved back to the USA soon after.
Wow. Okay, the razor story.
That's kind of a funny, trickster of a ghost.
Yeah, but that's a pretty obvious move by the ghost.
I mean, where else would that razor be?
Oh my God.
This story comes from Ravonda, and I've known Ravonda for a long time, and she has some great spooky stories. Ravonda's one of those people who just attracts the creepy wherever she goes.
Kind of like you.
Yeah, a little bit. This is Ravonda's story. Being sensitive to spirits is almost a family trait in my family. My grandmother, my mom, my sisters, our children, and myself are all sensitive to spirits or ghosts. When I was about 6 years old, we were living in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. A few miles up the mountain was a cabin our parents and their friends would go to for cookouts. A creek ran by the cabin, so my older sister and I went down to play in the water. We were splashing and trying to cool off in the hot summer sun. We were on the opposite side of the creek and were facing the cabin over, where our parents were. For a strange reason, unbeknownst to me, I turned around to look behind us. There was an older lady about 10 feet from us, standing there just staring at us, watching us play. She had a long black dress with long sleeves and buttons that went all the way up to the top. There was a white collar around the neck, and her black hair was pulled into a tight bun. Immediately, I was terrified. I screamed and almost walked on water, getting across the creek to get back up the hill to my mom.
I bet.
My sister Valinda was screaming and running right behind me. I told Mom about the lady, but she kind of blew us off. I couldn't understand why someone would be watching us like that and why she was dressed like that on a hot summer day. Fast forward over 30 years. We were having Sunday dinner and talking about strange things that happened as we were growing up. I mentioned the old lady that lived near the old cabin. My uncle stopped me. He said, "What old lady?" I described her to him and told him where she must have lived. I couldn't understand why he was so puzzled. Then he said, "There was no old lady that lived there. No one had lived in that old house for many, many years." Then he refreshed my memory. "Don't you remember when you were little, we would target practice at that old house? Why, we would be shooting at an old lady's house. Why would we be doing that?"
He wouldn't let him do that.
It hit me like a ton of bricks. We had seen a ghost. I can still see her exact dress and face in my mind's eye 34 years later.
Oh my God. Now that's crazy. Now the way she described her being dressed, I could almost picture it in my head. Very prim.
It almost seems like
the day.
Victorian.
Yeah.
Maybe late 1800s,
No, yes.
early 1900s.
Right. With the big pearl buttons and buttoned all the way up
collar.
to the neck. And yeah, and the tight bun and all that. Oh my gosh. What the hell?
It's a pretty creepy story, right?
That's what they get for cooling off in the creek.
Dylan, have you ever had any weird, creepy, ghostly experiences?
Well, like I said, noises and things like that. Nothing ever really overt, if I'm using that word correctly. But until I started dating you.
Yeah?
Imagine that. Yeah. So yeah, I used to hang out where you lived when we first met.
Okay, so when we first met, I had a roommate.
Yep.
A guy friend.
So she claims.
Oh, please.
No, they were roommates.
We were friends.
Michael's a great dude.
So we were living together, me and my friend, in his house.
Right.
And it was very haunted.
She had told me some stories.
Yeah.
And Michael had told me some stories.
Right.
Very serious.
Some creepy shit happened in the house.
Nothing to play with.
Right.
Right.
But you kind of were like, you, like everyone else, probably thought we were nuts.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Oh, cool. Yeah.
But one of the first nights you stayed over.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
Well, we were in your room.
We were.
playing Scrabble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yahtzee.
Yeah, I'm trying to put them words together, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh.
And we were the only ones in the house. Michael was gone working a night shift.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There's lots of that and Paul Newman movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did we watch The Hustler or something?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
You introduced me to the incredible works of Paul Newman.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so we're in there watching movies, kidding around, having fun. And I know we're the only people in the house. And then from the kitchen comes the sound of a cabinet. Kind of like someone opens a cabinet door about 2 or 3 inches with those spring-loaded hinges, the ones like that, and just lets it go. Pop, pop. The cabinet door's shutting. And I mean, this isn't a door blowing shut. This isn't something barely making a noise. This is an obvious sound that you know exactly what would have to be done to make that sound. And it is someone pulling a cabinet door open and letting it pop shut. And yeah, it totally freaked me out. And you were just like, oh, it's just a ghost. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty weird.
Yeah. So in that house, we had several weird experiences that were just unexplainable. One of those being my roommate had left. It was like a Friday evening or something. And he left. He's like, I'm going to go get some dinner, whatever. I was hanging out at the house. I had a girlfriend over. We were sewing. That's when I was performing. I was a burlesque performer. I had a burlesque show coming up. It was like a Halloween show, actually. So we were working on a costume, and she was kind of a seamstress. So she was helping me make this like panel skirt thing. We're sewing, working on this costume. So, it's starting to get late. She wants me to take her home. Fine. We go out to the car. We're in the driveway. We get in my vehicle. As we're starting to drive off, she sort of looks at me and says, did your roommate come back home? I don't remember seeing him come home. And I was like, no, his truck's not here. He's not here. He's not here. And she says, well, who was the man standing in the window? Yes.
Oh, hell.
And I was like, what? Huh? What?
Do what?
Yeah. And she says, yeah, well, when we walked outside, she's like, I just kind of glanced up in that window, which is my roommate's bedroom. She's like, I glanced up in that window, and she said there was a man staring out the window at me, and he had the curtains kind of pulled and was looking out. And she said when I looked up at him and he saw me, he kind of closed the curtains and sort of inched back a little bit. And she's like, I could still see his form in the window, but I couldn't make out his face. Assumed it was your roommate, but then it, kind of dawned on me that I don't remember him coming back in at any point in the night.
Right.
He's not here, right?
Right.
So who was in the house with us?
Who's that peeking in my window?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, shit. So, of course, I take her home. I text my roommate when I get to her house, like, it's going down.
Right. It's active.
Be prepared. And yeah, so when he got home, we ended up having some really weird shit for like the next few hours.
Really?
Like, for whatever reason, it was super active that night.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No.
And one of the creepiest, and for the most part, it left me alone. Like, I could hear little things and whatever, but for the most part, it really didn't bother me too much.
Right.
And that's probably because, I'm just like, fuck you, ghost.
Yeah, you're like a ghost ninja.
Come at me, bruh.
Yeah.
But, okay, so this one night, this was super crazy. I was in the kitchen, and we had kind of like this archway, like a doorway from the kitchen into the living room.
Okay.
And the kitchen light was off, but the living room light was on. I could see well enough in the kitchen, to go poking around. So I had gone in there and, I'd gone to bed, but I went in there to grab like a bottle of water or something out of the fridge. As I opened the fridge door, I get my water out. And then when I closed the door, it was just completely black, like pitch black in the kitchen, as if something was standing in the doorway blocking the light from the living room.
Okay.
So I thought it was my roommate, and he would always play pranks on me too. Like, he would try to fuck with me and scare me.
Okay.
Because I really wasn't too freaked out about the ghost, but he would always do shit to me, like, just to be an ass, because that's his personality, and he's funny. Thought it was him, and I was just turned around, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And there was nobody there. And as I turned around, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? There's nobody in the doorway, but this black, like, form almost. And it just sort of dissipated, and then the light came back in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I was like, Michael! Screaming for him. Yeah.
That's probably when
he's like in his bedroom or something. He comes running out. He's like, what? What's going on? And I'm like, freaking out. I told him what had happened. He was like, okay, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do that.
But at that point, I mean, he's like, yeah, that's weird, but and shrugs because, you know,
happens.
This was like an everyday occurrence that something was happening. Usually to him.
Okay.
Or his son.
Yeah.
Rarely to me. But yeah, that was freaky.
Well, that's beyond freaky. That's freaking scary.
But we're ready for Halloween. We love your horror stories. We may try to put together another one of these. Yeah,
so anyone who listens to this and enjoys it in the least bit or would like to have us or have me horribly read your story, just keep sending them, guys, and we'll read some more. mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. You can send over your email with your story. I mean, this could be anything. Haunted house, encounter with some creepy person that turns out to be a serial killer, you got locked in your basement when you were 5, a clown tried to show you his balloon. We can do you saw a UFO, whatever. Super scary pranks growing up. That would be a fun one. That would be a fun one, Dylan. Okay, if you got parents who are just devilish and won't leave you alone. I've done that to my kids a little bit. Yeah, my mom did something really kind of cruel to me as a kid. Yeah. It traumatized me. Well, that can be mean. My mom told me that this rock was a dinosaur egg, and that if I watered it every day, it would hatch into a baby dinosaur. And for like a year, I watered this fucking rock. Oh my God. And then one day she comes outside and she's like, what are you doing? I've got my little watering can, my little, and I'm watering the rock. And she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm watering my dinosaur egg. Hello, I'm waiting on it to hatch. Holy. She thought that was so funny, laughed her ass off, and was like, honey, did you really believe that? Oh my God. I was kidding. That was a joke. And so you're like a year in. Yeah. I'm like, well, thanks a fucking lot, Mom. So that story actually kind of explains a lot of what's wrong with me. So you're invested in this rock hatching a baby fucking dinosaur. This is why I have trust issues, Dylan. Okay. I understand now. I can't even believe I'm sharing the rock dinosaur egg story with you guys. So yeah, we're super excited about Halloween. We got our costumes picked out. I hope you do. We'll post pictures. We will. Yeah. And just keep the stories coming, and guys and gals, keep listening. Thanks for tuning in to our Halloween episode here on Mountain Murders.